The night sky wept cold tears as a rusted pickup truck skidded to a halt on the edge of the wilderness. A sharp wind howled through the pine trees, and the distant hoot of an owl broke the silence. The dog in the back of the truck whimpered softly, tail tucked, eyes wide with confusion. He didn't understand. He had been loyal, had guarded the farm since he was a pup, barked at every shadow, protected the chickens, even curled up on the cold porch outside the house because they didn't let him inside. He had learned never to bark too loud, not to chase the children, not to eat from the table. He had obeyed. But now, his master yanked him by the collar, dragged him to the edge of the woods, and unhooked the leash. "Go on, Mutt. You're too old, too soft." The man's boots crunched in the snow as he turned back to the truck. "Go die somewhere. Save me the trouble." The dog barked once, confused, pleading. The truck's door slammed. The engine coughed, and the red taillights vanished into the darkness. And he was alone. Cold seeped into his bones. He limped slightly, an old injury from when the farmer's son had kicked him for chewing on a stick that looked like a shovel handle. His ribs showed under his coarse fur. He wasn't old, not really, just tired. Tired from years of giving and never receiving. Snow began to fall. He sat there for hours, watching the road, ears perked for a return that would never come. Hunger gnawed at him, but he didn't move. Not yet. His name had once been Max. But in that moment, even that seemed to be taken from him. He was no one now. The forest was indifferent, silent, alive. Predators watched him from the shadows. A fox darted past. A pair of glowing eyes, yellow and ancient, stared at him from a distance. He walked and walked until he could no longer feel his paws. He collapsed under a fallen tree and curled into a shivering ball. And that's when they came. The first wolf appeared as if woven from smoke. Tall, muscular, eyes like cold moons. The pack followed, 6 of them. Silent, regal. One growled, deep and low. Max raised his head, did not growl back, did not whimper. He stared at them. Death did not frighten him anymore. The lead wolf approached, sniffed, ears tilted back. A low whine, and then, unexpectedly, the lead wolf lay down in front of him. Submissive, the others followed. Max blinked. He didn't understand it yet, but they had seen something in him. Not strength of fang or swiftness of paw, but something older, deeper, a pain they recognized. They did not kill him. They accepted him. Time passed. Max learned to hunt again, to feel the snow under his paws. His muscles grew lean. His wounds healed. He watched the pack and mimicked them, learned their ways not as a pet, but as one of their own. The wolves didn't name him. Names were for the past. But the pack called him Ashfong in their silent language. The scarred one, the fire that would not die. He was no longer a dog. He was something else. One winter, the pack was ambushed by poachers. Steel traps, blood in the snow. One of the younger wolves, Silver, howled in agony as her paw snapped in a hidden clamp. The men came with rifles, laughed, took photos. Ashfong saw the glint of the trap too late. He fought, leapt for the underbrush like a shadow of vengeance, teeth bared. His jaws clamped down on the arm of the man, holding the rifle. Bone cracked, screams echoed, but the men escaped, dragging their trophies with them. That night, the pack mourned. Ashfong stood on a rock above them, watched the dark smoke of pain rise into the stars. His heart burned. He remembered the boy who broke his leg, the farmer who beat him with a shovel, the chain that had rusted into his neck. He remembered, and for the first time since his exile, he howled long, low, and fierce. The forest listened. Something awakened. Seasons changed. The pack grew stronger. Ashfong, once the outsider, had become their strategist, their quiet general. He led them with calculated eyes, never barking orders, never forcing. But when he moved, they followed. He began taking them closer to the human farms. At first, it was subtle, scaring livestock, cutting off trade roads, leaving claw marks as warnings on fence posts. Then, one night, Ashfong stood at the edge of the forest and stared down at the farm where he was born. The porch light flickered. A new dog barked from inside the house, a fat Labrador, treated better than Ashfong ever was. Warm, loved. The injustice boiled in his blood. He turned to the pack and growled once. They understood. That night, the farmhouse woke to chaos. Chickens scattered. Fences collapsed. Crops trampled. The farmer burst out with a shotgun, cursing. Ashfong didn't strike him. Not yet. He wanted him to feel helpless. Hunted. Each raid was more precise. Surgical. The wolves stole tools, dragged away carcasses, made it clear this was not random violence. It was intelligent, intentional. The nearby town began whispering of demons in the woods, wolves that think like men. Ashfong didn't care. He wanted them to remember. But revenge has a cost. One of the older wolves, Nightjaw, approached him one dawn, eyes wary. The pack was tired. They feared they were becoming monsters. This wasn't survival anymore. This was war. Ashfong stood silent. He looked at the paw prints in the snow, then said, in the only words he still remembered from his human life, "They made us monsters." Nightjaw turned and left. Ashfong sat alone for hours. That night, he dreamed of fire, of chains, of the boy's laughter when he bled. He woke with a snarl. But the dream had also shown him something else. The face of the man who had thrown him away. And Ashfong realized he wasn't done yet. Not until justice was personal. The farmer had grown paranoid, built electric fences, hired hunters, kept the new dog leashed inside at night. His son, now older, carried a rifle on his shoulder and a smirk that Ashfong recognized. Ashfong stalked them from the woods, studied their habits, waited. Then, on a stormy night, he moved. He approached the farmhouse alone, slipped through the shadows. The boy was in the barn, loading tools. Ashfong entered, quiet as mist. The boy turned, startled. He barely had time to lift the gun before Ashfong was on him. He didn't kill. He pinned him down, growled in his face, showed him the scar, the one from the broken leg. The boy's eyes widened. Recognition. Fear. Ashfong stepped back and howled once. The pack came, not to kill, but to witness. Then Ashfong turned his back and left. It was more powerful than death. It was mercy. The townsfolk spoke of strange things in the months that followed, of wolves that protected lost hikers, of a dog-shaped shadow that hunted only those who harmed the forest. Poachers vanished. Trees regrew where they had been cut. The balance returned. Ashfong had become more than a dog, more than a wolf. He had become a myth. But to the pack, he was still one of them. They ran together under the full moon, his silver-gray coat shining in the light. He no longer limped, no longer bowed his head. He stood tall, tail raised, a scarred leader who had turned pain into purpose. And in the deepest part of the forest, where the trees were oldest and the stars shone brightest, a stone marked a sacred ground, the place where a dog had once been abandoned and where a legend had been born. Etched in claw marks was a single name, Ashfong, and beneath it we remember